All righty, we got Washington going to Michigan State, and Dan, your karma worked on Mel Tucker. He's out. He is out. We saw what Michael Penix did last year to the Spartans. Almost 400 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. They won 39-28. We know about the emotional status of Michigan State at the moment with the scandal that's going on at school. Can the Spartans slow down Michael Penix in that offense and get a potential back door in this one? I just feel like there's too much adversity, and the line's probably going to move. What did it open at?
Yeah, so this one has been, excuse me, a little bit all over the board, Joe. It opened 11.5. I bet online. I believe it opened 15 at Circa. Now it went up to 16, went up to 17, back down to 16. The total really hasn't moved much either. It's been 57.5, 58, pretty much the whole time. So some of the openers, yes, some movement. I will say that the Tucker thing, Joe, I actually think that Tucker was hurting the program. I think that if you talk to people around the program, Tucker was hurting the program. And it sounds like from all reports, things might be better for the players. They have like I think a week or 30 days or whatever to transfer out or whatever it is. I think a month, not a week, a month. And we haven't seen any transfers yet. So I don't know, but I think that Michigan State, might be in a better situation here. I like Washington. I think they're a good team. I just think that road games for Pac-12 teams going to Big 12, it's not as bad as Big 12 going to Pac-12, but still difficult situation. I think Washington wins. I don't think they cover. I will not be betting this game though.
All right. I kind of like Washington, but I'm interested. I feel you on the Mel Tucker thing. I wonder if they quick hook on that one, and maybe it makes things better for that program. And I do think that Penix is going to throw all over them. It's just, they have a pretty good defense. We'll see what happens there. That's a low line too. How about Charlotte, Georgia State? Charlotte's getting 7.5 at home. I'm not sure if I see anything in that one.
Oh, you know what? I do want to talk about this one quickly. Idaho, California. We missed this one. Cal off the Auburn loss. They got Washington on deck, and Idaho just killed FBS Nevada 33-6. Joe, this Idaho team might be good. Look out. This is not a good spot to back California in, even though it's not a good spot to back Idaho. Not a good spot to back Cal with a big game coming up on deck for them. Apologies for that.
All right. All right. Tennessee, Florida. This is the one I got circled here and wanted to talk it out with you. So we know what Tennessee is, man, right? They average 260 yards on the ground, not to mention what they can do through the air. We know what Billy Napier did, 10-point loss to Kentucky, LSU. Those were at home last season. This is where this game is. I saw 7.5, Dan. It's 6.5 right now at DraftKings.
Yep.
So the money's coming in. I know Tennessee has struggled here, right? That's been the history of the teams. They've struggled in this spot. They've struggled going to the Swamp. I feel like it's a 10-point game. Tennessee wins the game, but I do feel like there's value on Florida here. But two SEC schools, the SEC has struggled. Road chalk has struggled, right? Like this has been consistent all year long. These teams with chalk in the SEC going on the road. I know it's against another SEC team. Although I think Tennessee is better, they have struggled at Florida. But 6.5, I don't know. I feel like Tennessee's the side, but what do you think about Florida?
Yeah, I like Florida. Especially at 7. If I bet this game, I would absolutely want Florida at 7. I wouldn't take anything below that. Look, I think Tennessee is being a little bit overhyped because of that Virginia game. Okay, they had Tony Muskett. He was horrible for Virginia. The minute they replaced him last week because Muskett got hurt, all of a sudden Virginia got significantly better. They covered. They played well. I think they found their quarterback. I think Muskett was not the kid. Now, Tennessee put up 500 yards of offense on Virginia. So, offensively, they're going to be fine. They're going to run the ball very well. I think that's where they, kind of their power lies. Again, last week, they run the ball very well versus Austin Peay, 228 yards on the ground. They throw the ball okay with Milton. Austin P put up 339 yards against them. Austin P. Okay. And that was on the road in Tennessee. Tennessee is not that good, guys. I mean, I'm here to tell you, like, be careful of this Tennessee team. I know people are telling me, like, oh, Tennessee, like, they might challenge for the title this year. I don't think Tennessee. I think
I don't
Tennessee's going
believe
to
it.
be in a battle, be 500.
I don't believe that, but here's the stat, Dan, I wanted to give out. Tennessee has not won in the swamp since 2003. Like, that's a 20-year streak. Now, they did beat Florida last year, but it was at Tennessee 38-33. Not a good Florida. I know Richardson was obviously on that. But Tennessee is a road favorite. They're the team that I think people will fade this week. I completely agree with that. Can you back Florida, though, and can Mertz at home compete? That's the question. So, Dan, I do agree with you. I think Tennessee wins the game, but can Florida cover? I think Tennessee is on upset watch, no doubt, though.
I would be very careful. I would be very, very careful. You bet Tennessee this week. I think you're asking for it, like seriously asking for it. I don't think Tennessee wins this game. And in fact, right now we got about 3,500 tickets on in this game. 75% of the bet on Tennessee early. 81% of the money line bet on Tennessee. I think people are asking for it. I haven't gotten to the window in Florida. I'd probably want a 7.5 to be perfectly frank with you. But Joe, I disagree. I think this Tennessee team might struggle to be 500. Look at the remaining schedule here: South Carolina, Texas A&M, Alabama, Kentucky, Georgia. They ain't winning any of those games, in my opinion. Maybe South Carolina. They're not beating Texas A&M, at Alabama, at Kentucky, at Missouri, home versus Georgia. I'd be surprised if they win any of these games. Maybe one, maybe two maximum. At Florida, I don't think so. This Tennessee team, they're fine. They're nothing special. They're a mid-level SEC team. Don't look at the number 11 next to their fucking name. That's from last year's team. Last year's team, nothing to fucking do with this year's team. Joe Milton was a disaster there. Let's not forget when Milton took over. Was a disaster. Right. Okay? Stop. Just don't believe in that. And Florida, they struggled at Utah. They almost covered that game. How bad they were, how bad they played on the road in Utah, where no one wins in that place. I don't think another team's gone on the road and beat them there since before COVID. Okay, that was the last time someone won Utah. Florida's not good, but Graham Mertz is a serviceable quarterback, and this is in the swamp. Huge game. I'm sorry, I'm going Florida. I would go Florida. I look over.
Listen. Tennessee hasn't won in this spot in 20 years. Like, how, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Like, Florida, like, yeah. Can Tennessee do it? Like, that's the question. And this isn't one of their best teams. They did win last year, but they didn't cover. So, yeah, I think that of all the teams that are road chalk, I think Tennessee's the one that could go down the most.
Well, hold on quickly before we move on. North Colorado, Washington State. These are the 5 o'clock games. North Colorado.
How about Washington State last
yeah,
week?
Big win versus Wisconsin. They got Oregon State on deck. Not a spot I'd be looking to back Washington State in. If you're into that sort of thing, betting FCS games, which I love doing, I would be careful there. NC Central versus UCLA. UCLA's got a big game on deck themselves. They got a road game in Utah. We just talked about how no one wins in that fucking place. I'm assuming Cam Rising's back for that game. This is definitely an overlooked game. We missed Georgia State Charlotte, Joe, which is an FBS game. Charlotte has a big cover versus Maryland last week. They got Florida on deck. Georgia State beats the shit out of UConn after struggling versus Rhode Island. Anything for you in this one?
No, not in this one.
Okay, I think Georgia State continues their reign here. I like them. I like them in this game here. 7.5. I lean that way. I think you can probably get 7 if you're patient there. I wouldn't bet 7.5. So I would bet 7 on Georgia State there if it were me. And in Villanova, UCF. UCF comes off that crazy win versus Boise. They got Kansas State on deck. Oh boy, not a good spot. I would lean Villanova, whatever the number is.
All right. What else do we have here? Well, how about Cincinnati, Miami of Ohio? Listen, Miami of Ohio sucks. We all know it. And Cincinnati's look well. They got Oklahoma on deck as over 2 touchdown favorites. It's not an ideal spot.
Yeah, Miami, Ohio coming off the win at UMass. I think this is a really, really tough spot. Luckily, it's a home game for them. But yeah, I mean, this is a clear look at it, right? But at the same time, Cincinnati probably needs to rack up some wins. They did have a very nice win last week. To me, this is kind of your, if Miami, Ohio loses outright to UMass last week, honestly, I probably even feel better about taking them in this spot because I probably want a bounce back spot for them. Big game for them. Probably a pass for me. This one opened 17. If you wanted Miami, I think you missed the number here. Cincinnati, good win. I still don't love this team. Pass for me.
All right, and what else do we have here? We got North Texas, Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech -4.5. Is this a spot for North Texas after losing again?
You know it. Joe already knows exactly how I bet and exactly how my numbers are developed at this point. North Texas +4.5. I bet North Texas +3. I didn't think it was getting above 3. Well, guess what? I had to take them again at 4.5. I thought this was silly. This one opened 1.5, Joe. There were some 1.5 openers on this game. I'm surprised where it is. I think it's actually going to go up. Bovada has a 5. I think we're going to continue seeing this number go up. People are really, really down in North Texas. I get it. They sucked versus Cal. Again, this is a team that was hanging in versus Cal. Then Cal pulled away. They just struggled last week against FIU. Keon Owens went crazy against them, ran all over them. Louisiana Tech can't run the ball. And, this is a team, they just struggled versus FIU. People are looking at the common opponent thing here. La Tech also has Nebraska on deck. This is technically a big game for them. It's not a conference game because North Texas is now in the American, but former conference game. I just think it's a good spot for North Texas. I think they have a chance to win this game outright. In fact, I think they will win this game outright. Look, I just think Louisiana Tech, in my opinion, severely, severely overrated team. I really don't like them. They didn't cover versus SMU. They didn't cover versus FIU. I don't even know if they cover versus Northwestern State. I just don't think this team is very good. And North Texas, they might need a lot of things, but offensively, they can move the football. It's the defense that struggles. So let's see if the defense can stop Hank Bachmeier, who has not been impressive so far with Louisiana Tech. I think it can. The total 68 in this game, Joe. 68. Wild fucking number. I think this is an under game. I think that's too high.
All right. And let's see. Well, Northern Illinois, Nebraska. Here's Nebraska again Nebraska, Northern Illinois, if we know anything about them, it's the Rocky Lombardi offense with that run game that they have. Nebraska last week, we saw what happened with them. They played a couple of off a Power 5 opponent over a double-digit favorite. I mean, you would think Nebraska in the spot. I'm out.
Joe, when we did the podcast last week, I said, look out for the Salukis. I think they can win that game. God damn it. They beat Northern Illinois just like I said they would. And I bet them full game, second half. They won that game outright. And I gave it out on Twitter. I also said on the podcast, they're losing that game. Terrible spot for them. It's like maybe the worst spot for a group of 5 team in the preseason. This has got to be a get-right game for Nebraska. Jeff Sims probably not playing. Right? So who do you go to next? Is it going to be Longville? Because I think that's the rumor on the street. They're going to go Longville. Do you go Chuba Purdy? I don't know. What I do know is you got to bounce back after last week. You're 0-2 right now. You got to figure some stuff out with Nebraska. I mean, this team is not good. This team is not good. But to be perfectly fair with you, Joe, they're also probably not as bad as they look last week. Things just got out of control. Sims turned the ball over too much. It was a 0-0 game for a very long time in that Colorado game, a very long time. And man, I just I'll be honest with you. I think Nebraska will rebound this week. I don't know. I mean, what do you think of this game, Joe? Because I think this is going to be a game where I can't tell people are going to try and bounce back and take Nebraska or people are not. It opened 13. It's down to 11. So we definitely know that sharps are definitely not on them. What are your thoughts?
Unbettable. Nebraska's unbettable.
Okay.
I thought they were very sharp last week, and there you
I
go.
got a lot of shit for betting 3.5. The number closed 2.5.
Yeah.
Key number of 3, and I got 3.5. People are giving me a hard time. Oh, what a stupid fucking bet! You're a fucking idiot if you think that's a bad bet. Getting a point of CLV on an extremely key number in a game where it was 0-0 for a very long time, very long time, or it was 3-0 or whatever the fuck it was, very long time. And to be fair, I mean, Nebraska turned the ball over a few times. Colorado barely moved the ball against it. They struggled badly in the first half. They got exposed, in my opinion. Colorado did. Now, again, they exploded in the second half and late in the game. You saw a lot of these teams do that last week where, teams in the fourth quarter just kind of exploded when the game started to get out of hand, and that's what happened. Colorado's good. We're going to talk about the Oregon line coming up in 2 weeks because the Oregon line for Colorado came out today, and I already know people are going to want to bet the fuck out of that thing. We'll talk about it. Nebraska's better than people think. Okay, they're not as bad as people think. They just bad luck. But if you think that Colorado or Nebraska plus 3.5 is a bad bet, you're out of your fucking mind. Seriously, it's just not. Close 2.5. You got a point of CLV on a key number like that. That's what you need to do. Closing line value matters. And by the way, my bigger bet in that game, first half under, didn't even get close, easily winner. So people got to learn how to start betting and stop looking at just results. Yes, it's a results-based business, but learning how to get results over a long period of time instead of just one game. People are going to, a couple weeks, I'm telling you, people are going to start feeling Colorado. I can't wait to bet Oregon. Cannot fucking wait to bet them.
All right, let's get a couple games out of the way. UCF takes on Villanova. UCF 2-0.
We already did that game.
I'm sorry. Okay, I just was pulling up the schedule that we haven't gotten to yet. Texas Tech, Tarleton State. Texas Tech's 0-2, dude. Can't believe that.
Dave, the pick six last week, that's got to be the worst non-cover. All they got to do is just don't throw a pick six. Don't throw a pick six. Don't fumble the ball.
Oh God,
pick
that was
six.
bad.
That was brutal. I had Texas Tech too. That had a good number. That one. I got one of my few losses last week. That one hurt.
UAB at home -2. Now, I've always talked about UAB playing very well at home. I know they lost last week.
Yep. The Georgia Southern.
Yeah, they competed though. They gave up 49 points as well. So either way, yeah. UAB's always had a history of playing well at home, but it's a completely different team this year. They're so different than what they used to be. I don't know, unless you like ULL in that spot.
I lean UAB. Now I will say ULL probably should have won the game last week. They outgained coverage on Old Dominion. They had more first downs. They had more passing yards, more running yards. They didn't even have a turnover. They just had 10 penalties, and that's the key to the game right there. 10 penalties for 70 yards on Louisiana, and that's why they lost that road game. I think they're in for another big one. Again, UAB probably should have won this game. They outgained Georgia Southern. First downs were really close. Rushing yards were close. Passing yards were close. The penalties were close. It's just the 3 turnovers to the 2 turnovers. Probably why they lost this game. I think this kid Zeno can play a little bit, Joe. He looked pretty good. I watched this game a little bit last week. The problem is defensively, UAB needs to rebuild the entire defense. But Zeno can play. He's not bad. And I think that they'll be able to move the ball. The question is how much will they be able to move the ball, or how will they be able to stop Louisiana and their new look offense, because they have a brand new type of offense and they're breaking in a whole bunch of new players too. Ben Woolridge was the quarterback there. I lean UAB. No point for me there.
All right, do we do South Alabama, Oklahoma State yet?
No, we have not.
So why not South Alabama here?
Yeah, I think if you want South Alabama, you got to get 7.5 or 8. I got 7.5. I missed. There actually was an 8 number, and I took a worse number because I didn't check one of my outs. Took a bad number there. Look, I think Oklahoma State's super lucky to beat Arizona State. I mean, Arizona State just played a horrible second half last week. Horrible. They got Iowa State on deck, which I think is a big game, especially in the Big 12 for them. Sandwich spot. South Alabama, terrible game versus Tulane. They bounced back a little bit versus Sela, but they didn't cover the closing number. They covered the opening number, but not the closer. I had a middle in that one actually. I think they'll be okay on Oklahoma State. I'm just a little worried that this team might have lost a little bit of that oomph from last year. Might have lost a little bit. And I don't know. We'll see. To me, this is a huge game. Huge game for them. They go 1-2 here in the non-con. Man, I mean, it's not a conference game, obviously. I just think maybe we'll have to be a little bit more down on them than I originally was. Big game for them. I want to see if they can play up to, Oklahoma State's not a great Power 5 team. They should be able to hang with them. I like 7.5. I'm not going to PP it, but I definitely lean that way, and I have played it. Carter Bradley has to play better. Has to play better.
Okay. We broke it down. South Alabama, UAB, UNLV last week. Wolf, versus Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt favored on the road, Dan. SEC school.
Yeah, weird game, right? Weird game. You know how I feel about Vanderbilt as a favorite, right? Like it just never seems to go well, and especially on the road. Like it's a weird
against a team that got blown out.
Yeah. And it was against Michigan. They got Kentucky on deck. I mean, I absolutely lean UNLV here. I think that UNLV has a chance to win this game outright. I think they're better, than they were. And I don't know. It's not like the Mountain West is a bad conference. I think people just were relying probably too much on what they saw previously versus UNLV. Vanderbilt beat Hawaii, and that Hawaii shine has taken a big step back, especially with what happened with Stanford. Now, they didn't play super well versus Michigan. They lost 35-7, but they didn't – I mean, it wasn't horrible. It wasn't good, but they covered. So, I don't know. It's tough to say a lot of good things. They couldn't run the ball against them. That's the biggest problem. They just couldn't run the ball. They couldn't move the ball. They tried Brumfield, they tried Maeva. They just couldn't do anything there. I think maybe this week a good bounce back spot. I lean personally UNLV.
Michigan, Bowling Green. Michigan begins Big Ten play next week against Rutgers, who you're fading, Dan. Remember that. And right now, Bowling Green is, what is it? Geez, where are they? 39.5. And I would like Bowling Green for one reason only. The coach of Bowling Green is a former Michigan quarterback who they may take it lightly on. They have yet to cover the number yet, Michigan. I know they could do it this week. I know, be careful. But they have failed to cover a pair of 30-point spreads over the last couple of weeks. McCarthy, though, dude, leads all FBS in completion percentage. He's been pretty good. But I feel like maybe they, I'm looking like 41-10, something like that. So I'm going Bowling Green and the big number, baby.
41-10 would not cover.
That would be the spread's 39.5.
Oh, you mean for Bowling Green? Okay.
Yeah, I got Bowling Green. Yeah, Bowling Green's coach. They're going to take it easy on him because he used to be at Michigan, and they're not going to cover the 40.
You PPing that?
Bowling Green PP, please. Thank you.
Yeah, hate that play. Sorry. Hate that play. Yeah, I mean, look, so what Michigan has been doing is they've been taking it super easy second half. Harbaugh basically said today that he wants to fucking cover a game. Basically said that like that taking it easy, like he wants them to cover a game. He's not going to be coaching, so he doesn't really, it's not his decision. But like I can't see it. I feel like this could be like, especially after how good Bowling Green was last week. God, this feels like such a bad spot for them. I don't want anything to do with this game. I want nothing to do with it. I lean Michigan here. Absolutely no doubt about lean Michigan there. Joe, we missed a couple 7 o'clock games. We got to go back again.
Yeah.
Okay. James Madison, Troy.
So I don't know what to do about Troy, man. They do they bounce back? Did they look ahead to James Madison? I don't know about Troy anymore, Dan. I just don't know. And they're favored at home.
Yeah, I think this is a good spot to back Troy. If I'm going to do it, I'd probably back Troy. Now, this open to pick 'em. I probably would have grabbed the pick 'em. This is a good spot. It's a conference game. Okay, so that's big. This is gonna there. It's gonna be James Madison on back road games. The next, they lost after Virginia. They got Troy, then Utah State. They pulled out the win versus Virginia. Emotional game. It feels like a good Troy spot, especially after they got obliterated by Kansas State. I don't love it. I'm not going to sit here and play it. I didn't play it myself, but that's the way I lean in this game. Also, total down from 50 to 47 and a half. I think that I would probably go over on this game. I disagree with the move on the total here. I think Troy will be able to figure it out offensively, and James Madison, I think, has a very good offense. So I would pass on that one, at least me personally. And we missed San Jose State Toledo, Joe. Another big
Jeez,
one.
man, San Jose State's been taking a beating, dude. I
Not
don't even
last
know
week,
what
but they put
yeah, no,
a beat down.
that's right. +8. Ooh, Max School on the road. Oof.
No,
Awful
it's
win.
I think it's in Toledo.
Oh, yes, I'm saying. Going on the road to that's what I mean. I was looking at San Jose State in here, but yeah, Toledo's the favorite. I don't know. Maybe there is some value there on San Jose State.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. This is one of those games where if you're having a really good day, I think you end up adding it. But if you're having a bad day, you don't. So you just kind of wait. Anything above 8, though, I think San Jose State's probably the right, at least to me, the right side. Remember, San Jose State was playing pretty good with USC. They got blown out by Oregon State. Those are two really good teams, top 25 teams in the country. I think Toledo's good. This is the same team that lost to Illinois. Let's not get too crazy about what Toledo is. Like, same team that lost to Illinois. Yep, they got to go back on the road. Offensively, though, I think San Jose State can play. And, I think San Jose State keeps it within a touchdown. We'll see. That's one I may end up adding if I'm having a good day, not rushing to the window on that one. A couple 7 o'clock FCS games you missed. SMU Prairie View. SMU comes off the loss to Oklahoma. I thought they played really well defensively, just couldn't put it together offensively. They had a big game at TCU next week. The Sonny Dykes game. We'll see what happens there. So I wouldn't back them there. Texas Southern Rice, Joe. You have anything? Rice off the upset against Houston. Your team, Houston.
We called this last week, though.
Yeah, we did. We absolutely did.
It.
Yep.
No, I got nothing.
No, okay. Texas Southern got blown out 71-3 by Toledo. So fun times there. Duquesne and Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina beats Jacksonville State. I was impressed. I thought Jacksonville State was the side.
Dude, I ended up taking Jacksonville State, and they covered because the line moved towards Coastal Carolina. I think I got it at 16. I forget what the number I got it that was, but yeah. And I didn't post her in, but yeah, I ended up taking Jacksonville State. But yeah, Coastal, dude, they're getting by, man. They're getting by.
Yeah, I would not be on the ropes to be betting Coastal Carolina this week. They did. Now they didn't cover if you got the Jacksonville if you took them at the opener. Jacksonville State was 12.5, so they get close somewhere around there. And in Stony Brook, Arkansas State needs a fucking win. Can someone get these guys a fucking win? They need it. They should be able to beat Stony Brook, who is now 0-2 in FCS play. They lost to Delaware and Rhode Island. I don't know how much better Arkansas State is than those teams. They're better. They're probably 10 points better, but we'll see. How they should win, but who knows?
I'm trying to remember. Is Tyrone Wheatley the coach at Stony Brook? I'm trying to remember if that is true or not. No, okay. No, he's at Morgan State now. I remember Stony Brook and Tyrone Wheatley, and it could have been the one that played in the league. I'm licking my chops at 2 games, so I got to get to it.
Let's get them.
Give me Georgia Tech 19.5. Ole Miss has Alabama on deck. Ole Miss has been great.
20. It's 20.
All right, give me 20. Listen, it's a spot. Alabama's on deck. Last year, Ole Miss beat Georgia Tech 44-0. All right, so I get it. Georgia Tech's improved, man. I've watched them. I know they're not great. They're improved. I like what they are. Can they hang around 20? That's all I ask for. With Ole Miss having Alabama on deck, maybe they look ahead off a win last week.
No, I think it's a great spot. I wouldn't have repeat it, but I think it's a great spot. Ole Miss coming off that Tulane win where they win by 17. They didn't deserve to win that game by 17. Probably should have won that game by 3. They got a touchdown at the end. And then Tulane's driving down the field, they fumble, and then Ole Miss returns it, and that's the game. It's 17, and that's how it ends. I was on Ole Miss, so I feel super lucky to have covered that game. I do not think they should have covered. I think they should have lost that game. I think Georgia Tech agreed. Bad loss to Louisville, just couldn't pull it out. Now, it is a back-to-back road situation here, which is why I didn't jump to bet Georgia Tech this week. But Ole Miss, terrible spot. Big win versus Tulane, probably shouldn't have won that one. Then they get Alabama next week on the road. Huge conference game. I think it's Georgia Tech or nothing. I agree.
So, here's another one that I'm worried about.
Okay.
I want Arkansas over BYU, but Arkansas has LSU on deck.
Yeah.
BYU's 2-0 on the road with Kansas on deck.
Before you PP this one, can I talk you off the ledge?
I'm saying I need help with it. I lean Arkansas more, and it's more of a BYU fade.
You should.
And Arkansas plays better at home. The line was 11. It's gone down to 8.5.
You shouldn't. Yeah, and the sharps, including I'm not sharp. FYI, not sharp. Do not think myself sharp. But I played BYU 11. This is not a spot you want to take Arkansas. Not at all. They got LSU on deck. Huge game for them. And by the way, Arkansas has been wildly unimpressive so far. Wildly. They struggled with Kent State, Joe. And I mean struggled. Okay? They beat them 28-6. But that was not a big game. They only had 300 yards of offense in that game, only 5 more first downs than Kent State. KJ Jefferson and that team are struggling to move the ball. The only thing that they were able to do was run the ball. That was it. They really didn't throw for much, 136 yards. In fact, Mike Alimo outpassed KJ Jefferson 11-17, 174. This is not an Arkansas team that's very good. BYU isn't great either, but defensively, they are still nasty. And I think that you should probably roll with that. I wouldn't bet. I would not, absolutely not bet it if I was you. So I would no.
Yeah, and it's more of a fade of BYU. I've seen this episode before. And right now it's 8.5. It's moving. Syracuse, I think I might have mentioned them last week. Road favorites at Purdue. We know how well Purdue plays at home. I feel like this is a spot for Purdue. I'm circle Purdue, but maybe I need to know more about Syracuse here.
I bet Syracuse -1 and in Purdue +3. I think that's the way I play it. I think anything under 3, I like Q's. I think anything at 3 or better, I like Purdue. And that's kind of the way that I would bet this game if I was really, really betting it and not just kind of playing a little bit of a dinky middle here. I think Purdue, we talked about it. I played them +3 last week. I think they're going to win outright. They did. This is a team that I really like, Joe. I think they're a good Big Ten team. And I think that we should just not get too far ahead of ourselves, with this team. They're going to struggle at times. If they face a high-octane offense, they're going to struggle, a la Syracuse. But I also think that, when they settle in and their defense kind of settles in, they will play better. Syracuse has played 2 terrible teams. They're definitely overvalued, absolutely overvalued in market. And Purdue, even though they won last week, I think probably still being undervalued in the spot. I think 3 is a good number to bet Purdue. If he gets to 3, I'd take Purdue. Anything, I think 2.5 is an argument. I don't think I'd lay 2.5 with Syracuse, to be honest with you. I think 1.5, 2 I would. I know it sounds similar, but in college it's not. I think 3 with Purdue is a good bet, though.
All right. And just moving along here, I know this is a huge card. That's why the podcast is so long.
Yep.
Akron, Kentucky. Kentucky worth a 4 touchdown favorite here.
I mean, Akron was so bad last week. I don't know if you saw how they won, but they're lucky to get that win versus Morgan State.
We talked about that. Remember, can Akron get the win? They should. Yeah.
Barely. That's the answer. Barely.
They don't know how to win. They don't know how to win. They only know how to avoid losing. That's all.
I agree. They know how to backdoor cover. I don't think this team is going to win 4 games this year. They look worse than they did last year. No, I lean Kentucky. I think Kentucky can blow them the fuck out this week. Absolutely, I think they can. I think this could be 35 points by the end of it. I'm a pass. I'm a pass on them though. Pass.
Okay. There's a couple. I know I had a couple more games. So Pittsburgh, West Virginia is interesting in general. Let's just call it a pick 'em, even though West Virginia is a home dog right now. West Virginia is a home team that covers. They play way better at home than they do on the road. I have said that on this podcast for years. Pittsburgh off that loss. Phil Dracovic sucks. They go on the road, but is still getting the respect on the road. West Virginia's played better, if you ask me. Weird spot. I like West Virginia, but the whole Pittsburgh thing, like they're a team that always kind of battles back after adversity. You know what I mean? So I'm staying off this one, but if I was going to pick, I think West Virginia at home's the play.
I think Pitt's the play. I wouldn't bet this game. I think it's too tough. It's just if Pitt loses this game, the season's essentially over for them. I shouldn't say that, but it would be really, really bad if they lost this game. Like monumentally bad, in my opinion. To lose to Cincinnati the way they did and lose to West Virginia. Phil Dracovic is supposed to be, a pro prospect. I mean, this would be really, really bad. The Pitt defense is definitely not what we think it is. I just don't want to go overboard on Virginia because they crushed Duquesne. I think Pitt's better. I lean Pitt. I lean Pitt here. I do.
All right, and here's another one. Wyoming, Texas. Wyoming is going to get 30 points from Texas off an emotional win against Alabama with Baylor on deck. What? I can't PP it, but I really want those 30 points.
It just keeps going up. It keeps going up, Joe. And look, I'm just waiting for it. 100%. I'll be betting this one too. I'll give it out Saturday because I'm sure this number is going to get bigger and bigger. And I don't think there's going to be a major move on Wyoming here. I'd be surprised. Maybe there is. Maybe I'm wrong. They just beat They just beat a Big 12 team in Texas Tech at home. Like I was wrong about Wyoming. This is a good team. Their coach has said this is the best team I've ever had. So I trust Craig Bohl when he says this is the best team I've ever had. I trust him. And they're getting both the running backs back this week. I'm not saying Texas is going to lose because they're not, but they barely beat Rice. And now how many teams beat Alabama cover the next week? It just never happens. This is Wyoming or nothing. Just wait. This number is probably 30. Anything above 28, 28 and a half or above is a good play on this one.
I want 30 or more, and I'm in.
I don't think it matters.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, just the fact. And Texas always plays well at home.
So it's a 20-point game, maybe lower, honestly. 20-point game though.
TCU Houston. Man, I want TCU in this spot. But we saw what happened with Houston, right? Now they're 7-point dogs at home off a loss. I like TCU, but they have a lot to prove too. So I'm off on this game.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. They have a lot to prove to me before I can even think about taking them. I know Houston sucks. I mean, they let 43 up to Rice, but they did just beat UTSA. Tough spot. Clearly looking ahead to a huge TCU game. It's Houston or nothing. It's the spot. It's Houston or nothing for me. No doubt about it. And by the way, sneakily, TCU has SMU on deck. Okay. That's a huge game for them because their coach is the former SMU coach. They beat them last year. That's a huge game for them. Sneakily, they've already lost to Colorado. It's not like they're making the finals this year. This is not a conference game. I'm just saying they could take this game super lightly to prep for a game that they care about a little bit more. That's all. And by that, I mean the coaching staff, not the players.
Clemson has Florida State on deck. They dropped 66 last week, and they're 24-point favorites against Florida Atlantic. It seems like it to me. I don't know, too many points, but maybe they're starting to roll on offense. I'm staying away from it.
Yeah, I love Casey Thompson here, man. He did apparently get banged up at the end of the game, so I'm waiting to see the status there. But again, this one, again, to me, this one feels pretty easy to me, Joe. Right? Like we always talk about early on in college football. Who are your favorite? What are your favorite times to bet? College football. First couple weeks, to me, non-conference play is always easier than conference play. So this one opened 23.5. We're starting to see some 24.5s pop here, Joe. It's at 24 right now, I think, on DraftKings, 24 minus 115. This will be 24.5 before you know it. I like FAU.
Yeah, I'm not gonna PP that one, but I have to take Hawaii in this spot. I have to. Can I get it a little higher? And Dan, I might be taking two spreads that are close to 40 this week. So we'll ring Hawaii, but the only reason why is Oregon has Colorado on deck, and I'm fading it. So to me, it's a spot. Yes, could they beat them by 40? Yes, they can. And they always do it at home. And they had an emotional victory last week. Hawaii has to stay within 40. Give it to me. I'll ring the bell.
There it is. Yeah, this is a no play for me. I really got nothing on this one. Look, I think that everyone's worried about Oregon, or sorry, everyone's worried about Colorado. I don't think Oregon's worried about Colorado. Just being honest here, and we'll talk about the spread in a couple minutes when we talk about the Colorado game. I just don't think they are, but I do think it's a good letdown spot off that huge Texas Tech game where they barely held on to one, and I think it's a good spot for Hawaii. So yeah, I agree. I think it's Hawaii's the spot. But yeah, I don't.
Dan, I like every
I
single. I like every single underdog that we're going to talk about. I like Florida Atlantic. I like Hawaii, and I like New Mexico State as a dog against New Mexico as well.
Yep. Yeah. Let's talk about that game, Joe. You already know what I'm doing. 0-2 with them. Give it to me one more time.
I'm on this one. I'm on it too. So if we want to double PP,
want to double it? All right. Let's do it.
You know why? Because we're on the double PP for the win total too. So we might as well get the first win together.
I get it. I get it. And look, this has got to be a win. They got to win this game. If they don't win this game, oh boy, I mean, things go from bad to really bad for this team. It's a conference game. Non-conference game. Apologies. I don't know why I said conference game. Non-conference game, but this is a huge game for this team. Big rivalry between New Mexico and New Mexico State. They sometimes play them twice. That's how much the rivalry matters to these two teams. They're now playing twice this year. This is a huge one. New Mexico got blown the fuck out by Texas A&M and lost to Tennessee Tech. New Mexico State didn't play well versus UMass, 100%. They killed Western Illinois. I thought they were in that ill Liberty game last week. The score doesn't reflect it. I think this is a better New Mexico State team. I think they're going to start to turn it around. I'm trusting them again. I'm taking the 1 point here. I think that's stupid that they're a dog in this game. They should be a favorite in this game. Give me New Mexico State to blow these fucking losers out. They're going to beat them by 15. Give me New Mexico State and give me some alt spreads here too. New Mexico State's going to fucking murder them.
All right. I'm with you on that one. And dude, I'm also on Colorado State.
Well, hold on. Before we get there, Stanford, Sacramento State. So Stanford gets their shit pushed in last week. I told you I like USC in that spot. They get their shit pushed in. They're playing Sacramento State. And in Texas State, watch out for this one. Watch out. Hand up. Here you go, Joe. You want a spot? Look out. Texas State has a chance to lose this game outright. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, they've been one of the better FCS schools.
Texas State has been really good. They beat Baylor. They lost to UTSA by 7, both those games in a row. Jackson State has been fine in the SWAC. They barely held on the Southern. They were clearly looking ahead to this game. They could beat Texas State outright. Look it, clear it. Telling you, watch out for this one. Called it last week with Southern Illinois. I'm looking at this one too.
All right, take out Colorado, take out Deion Sanders, take out the team itself. If you're betting the number, it's 23.5. Colorado's at home against Colorado State in a rivalry game after playing 2 Power 5 schools. You got to fade that with Oregon. Oregon on deck.
Perfect. And
Yeah.
they have Oregon on deck.
It's just two Power 5 teams with Oregon on deck as what, over 3 touchdown favorites. Forget about the fact it's Colorado. You have to bet Colorado State.
And it's on the road too. It's at home too. Which
Yeah.
I mean, they got Oregon next week. Here, let's talk about this Colorado team for a second here, though. Okay, I was wrong. This team is good. Okay, they're not great. They're not going to win the title. They're not good, but they're also not a 4-win team, which is what I thought they were. 4-win team.
Oh yeah, but who would have known who would have known someone could put this together that fast?
Dion did. Dion's a great coach, and we got to give him credit. They had a good win versus Nebraska last week. I thought they absolutely got lucky at times. Shooter Sanders, good quarterback. He's not great, but Pat McAfee's ridiculous. But saying that he should be the number 3 pick in the draft, that's insane. They're going to Oregon next week. Do you know what that spread is right now, Joe? If you had to guess without looking at it, what do you think that spread is at Oregon next week? The look-ahead spread as of right now.
What is it?
Guess. Give me a guess. What do you think that game is?
I'm going to say Oregon 7.5.
14.5.
Okay.
14.5. You know what that number is going to close at? 8, 9. This number is going to close at 8 or 9.
I figured 7.5. So yeah,
it's going to be my biggest bet of the year, possibly in college football. Not this week. 2 weeks from now. Circle this fucking thing. Colorado's going to get their fucking shit pushed in 2 weeks by Oregon. They're going to fucking kill them. But this week, I agree. We'll see. Honestly, Joe, it would not shock me if we got one more Colorado cover. If you want to bet this game, Colorado, it's got to be 24, man. Got to be 24. Are you PPing 23.5, by the way? Couldn't
yeah,
tell.
Sure. Let's do it.
You PPing it?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Okay.
Yeah, Colorado. I have to. It's within the right. Again, you bet numbers, not teams. You got to bet the number on that one. If I lose, whatever.
I get it. Yeah, if you lose, you lose. But I get it. People are gonna call you fucking stupid for that bet. Just be prepared. It's gonna happen. Just FYI. All right, let's wrap up the final 3 games here, Joe.
Yeah, Kansas, Nevada. Kansas off a big win last week. Now goes on the road as 4-point touchdowns. I don't like it. So again, the nightcap, a lot of dogs for me here, man. I'm not going to bet it, but maybe Nevada's got a shot here at 4 touchdowns despite Kansas and their high-flying offense last week. And they almost blew the game at the end.
They did. I will say Nevada lost to FCS Idaho 33-6 last week. I mean, that's about as bad as you could possibly get. They are doomed without basically everyone leaving. Jay Norvell leaves. He's struggling in Colorado State. Probably should have stayed in Nevada. This program probably be flying high. It's a pass for me, man. I can't bet either one of these teams at the number right now. Just can't do it.
So listen, I actually like Fresno's quarterback. Poor Jake Haener had to do roids to get drafted. But 3 on the road, I will not back them. And although I don't love Arizona State, there is a live home dog in that spot.
I'm done with Arizona State. After last week, they're losing in that spot. After the way they played in the first half, embarrassing. I'm not going back on them. It's a good spot, absolutely, for Arizona State. Probably the right side, 100%. I refuse to fucking bet them. Refuse.
And then what else do we have? UTEP, Arizona. Oof, Arizona 17-point favorites at home against a UTEP team that we haven't been able to figure out yet.
Yeah, I lean UTEP in this game. I mean, look, it's going back and forth. Remember, they played Jacksonville State tough. So even though they got blown out by Northwestern, they played Jacksonville State tough. And again, this is now their 3rd road game in 4 games. It's tough. A lot of travel here. But Arizona coming off an overtime game at Mississippi State. They got a road game in conference at Stanford next week. Could be a game they just overlook. I think UTEP finds a way to cover, even though I don't love it. But I think 17.5, 18, UTEP numbers.
I think that's all we have, Dan, unless there's anything we missed.
That's it, Joe. That's it.
Whew, what a week. Be very aware. Conference games start next week.
Next week.
So beware. teams are going to play teams this week with their conference in mind next week, and a lot of opportunity on the board here. All right, Dan, long podcast this week, but we hit every game. I think we talked them all, and we gave a lot of value to all of them, and there's tons of picks. So